Welcome to another episode of your daily database insights from Leo's site. Again, I'm your favorite host, and I'm going to show you one of the most important things that we need to do before we start installing the softwares or anything on the virtual machine. Like any other changes or any implementation, you always have to have a rollback plan. This is going to come in handy as your belts and suspenders. For this particular VM that we created, we need to take a snapshot or what they call a checkpoint on Hyper-V. In this way, we are taking a snapshot of everything that was there in the beginning before we start altering, installing anything on the box or making any changes on the box. Again, this rollback plan is going to help us to go back and redo things if we happen to, run into issues. If we've run into an issue chasing a rabbit into a rabbit hole and we have lost our tracks, this is always going to be a way to really go back to a certain acceptable point in time that you have established. Now, if you were doing any changes in production or in non-production, you always have to bake in a rollback plan. What I mean by this is it depends on the level of the change or the implementation you're doing. If it is a minor change, you're going to be able to have a rollback plan based on the level of the change. If it's just changing a table, changing an object, changing an entire database, changing some objects or binaries in the file system, or changing some things in the box that are not easy to track, then it kind of advises you on the type of rollback or the checkpoint or the backup plan that you need to have. So for this case, I'm going to demonstrate how to check a checkpoint on Hyper-V. I already took one here. It's easy. One thing you can do with this is you can easily revert back to the checkpoint by selecting this option. So this is a way to go back to that acceptable time that you had already taken. So it's easy. You just right click on the VM, revert back, and it takes you back to that checkpoint. If you want to get rid of this, you just go ahead and delete the checkpoint subtree, and that gets rid of that checkpoint. If you want to take a single checkpoint, all you need to do is right click it and checkpoint that VM at that time. So maybe you've got into a space in time where you have implemented everything and you are certain that you're not going to be changing anything, and that's an acceptable point in time for you. Then you can take a checkpoint so that you can easily revert back to that point while you will be still modifying things on the box, and that is always going to be an easier point to go back to and start over if anything veers off the trails while you keep on modifying the changes on the box. Now for this case here, we've taken that checkpoint. That's going to be our box before we do any installation, and therefore it's easier to revert back to this in the event that we want to redo everything for repeat and relearn type of situation, or we just want to roll back and start over this box as a different thing. Like for instance, if we decide to repurpose this box, then we don't have to go ahead and rebuild the entire thing. The other option would be to export the VM, and then you can mount this VM instead of doing the whole entire creation process, and that is also going to cut down on the time. But for our case in this situation, that's how we do our checkpoint or a snapshot of everything in the beginning before we started modifying this box. Again, if there's anyone who is trying to understand the concept of checkpoint or snapshots or backups and rollbacks, you need to show them this video, and if they still need more help, ask them to reach out and I'll point them in the right direction. Thank you and have a good day.